Hello, this is Cam from the Brother Slim, and we are back diving into some story for Oathsworn into the Deepwood. So I'm going to try and actually go through the full story rather than just the summaries, because I haven't gotten this far. And while the summaries are pretty freaking great for summaries, from going through the first 10 chapters, there's a ton of cool things that are left out. So I'm thinking I probably won't do the actual rolling and tests or anything, and just trying to kind of treat it as a choose my own adventure kind of thing, just to make it as quick, efficient as possible, but still get to enjoy the story and such too. So yeah, so let's hop right into the next chapter, which is chapter 11. Your story begins on the next page at 1.8. And we get some lovely art of, I'm assuming that's going to be the Wychwood, where we are currently. You stare at the tips of 24 arrowheads trained on you. Before you could enact judgment on the Forgotten King, the Adendri had emerged from the trees before your eyes. Guide dashes between you and her kin, wildly releasing spores towards the Adendri and motioning calm to you. You wait, hands on your weapons, ready while they communicate in total silence. Finally, the Rangers lower their bows. Guide knocks. Agreement. To Matriarch, we go. You let out a sigh of relief and lower your weapons as well. The alternative could have easily meant your death. If your luck holds, you may find a cure for the plague in Varum here. As the group of Adendri ushers you forward in the first light of the new day, the Forgotten King stands defiant. He makes no move as you are motioned towards the Wychwood. Led by the Adendri Rangers, you cross the no man's land between the Deepwood and the Wychwood. The area is strewn with the bodies of monstrous aberrations, riddled with arrows and giant bioform constructs torn apart. Your eyes are drawn from the carnage of the battlefield to the awe-inspiring sight of your destination, the Wychwood. Before you, a high wall of green stretches to both sides as far as you can see. On your approach, a path opens and lets you enter into what seems a different world. Turning back, for a brief moment, you see Samil standing there with a sad smile before the wall grows to close behind you. I'm just going to move this a little bit closer. There we go. I think that should sound better. You are surrounded by plant life in a confusing array of colors and smells so dense that it overwhelms your senses. The trees stand strong, their bark an earthy color. Unmolested by the Deepwood rot, they are covered in moss and full of green leaves that drip with last night's rain. The air smells clean and flowery as you take deep breaths to fill your lungs. You feel your bodies relax involuntarily, as if remembering a time long gone when humans would find something other than death outside their settlements. You stifle the relaxation, knowing the danger that lies behind the beauty here. This matriarch of the Adendri is unknown to you, and so are the ways of this wood. You exchange glances and wonder if you could fight your way out of here if need be. It is in this very moment that you realize the asset is no longer with you. When did you last see them? Place the chapter 11 time track in the center, so I guess maybe we'll look at that just in case. Let's pull it up here. So chapter 11, basically nothing, just unique items, which we're not going to worry about for this. There we go. Place one location on the time track, not going to worry. Let's continue with our story. As the Rangers lead you deeper into the Wychwood, you study the immensity of the trees around you. Gazing upward, you suddenly stare into a pair of eyes looking right back at you. Barely visible through the abundance of leaves in the canopy above, you make out a number of Adendri hiding up there, bowstrings drawn tight. The hidden Adendri obviously know you've seen them, but just continue to look at you. A chill grips you, and you feel your reaction will be of grave importance. This sure looks like an ambush, but could just as well mean your rescue. You look to guide. Her hand signal tells you, Adendri resistance. You have only a moment to decide if you want to take sides in a conflict you did not know existed until now. Ooh, secret decision. Choose to fight alongside the ambushers or your ranger guards. This will lead you to different paths. You are not allowed to talk, but can use hand signals. Oh, very, very interesting. All side with your ranger guards, or all side with the ambushers if the decision is not unanimous. That's pretty cool. I like this secret decision. I don't think we got to see one of those when we played the first 10 chapters. Well, I mean, like, I feel like we have no reason to side with the resistance, so let's stay with the rangers and go to 1.2. Someone shouts, "Ambush!" and you prepare to fight. Your ranger guards turn to you in alarm, unaware of your intention, some even raising bows to take aim at you again. Guide, with what seems like hesitation to you, lets out her spores to translate. They react immediately. Some climb the trees with ease, others vanish into the undergrowth, while a few take up defensive positions near your group. You will not endanger your mission by helping some rogue group you know nothing about. On the contrary, this ambush presents a golden opportunity to show your captors you are on the same side and a worthy ally. Then, arrows start to fly. Cool. There we go. I turned 1.3. The resistance to fighters are defeated, but not without cost. You see some of your captors lying motionless on the ground. As you are prompted to move on by a ranger, you are surprised to witness that they just leave their own there in the dirt without showing any sign of grief. You have a lot of questions, but this is not the time nor the place to discuss them. As your group is led deeper into the Wychwood, you come to a clearing where about 50 young Adendri rangers are standing in an unnaturally straight rows, totally unmoving. You are just passing them in an eerie silence when the ground begins to shake. An Adendri is approaching, larger than any of his race you've seen before. He's at least thrice the height of a human and heavily armored with what appears to be hard pieces of wood and bark grown over his whole body. Long strides take him in lines of unmoving, Long strides take him to the lines of unmoving rangers, and he releases a flood of spores to all of them. In an instant, the whole clearing is brimming with life. All except your guards withdraw their roots from the ground to quickly move into something that looks like bushes to you, until it stands up. The behemoth consists entirely of living wood, looking like a massive tree with 5 thick trunks. Under the control of the Adendri, the bioconstruct moves toward the Deepwood border, transporting the rangers between its branches. You wonder if it goes to reinforce the border after the ambush, as the heavy tread of trunk-like feet follows long after the behemoth is out of sight. Cool. Path B card. Let's see if we can just remember that. 15.2. While you and your ranger guards make your way through the Wychwood, the morning sun is breaking through the trees, illuminating your environment more and more. With the arrival of the light, the wood is awakening. You have the impression of movement, of the trees and other plants shifting around, although you could not explain what you were observing. The air is filled with tiny Adendri spores. It seems their presence in this wood serves a purpose of some significance. After a long walk without rest, you see some massive trees up ahead, their broad trunks rising up straight with bark the color of white marble. Coming closer, you see their thick branches are closely interwoven. On the path thus created, crowned by elaborate formations of living wood, you see Adendri strolling from tree to tree at dizzying heights. The palatial trees overgrown with beautiful flowers in abundance. The palatial trees are overgrown with beautiful flowers in abundance, their delicate white petals shimmering like gold in the blazing sun. On the ground, there are some very large bioconstructs at work. One type, with 2 muscular arms and very large hands, is going about uprooting young trees. Another one reaches into the earth, loosening it up with its rapidly digging tentacle-like arms. The sound from Guide's knock tears you from the captivating sights. Matriarch, meet there, pointing to the white tree. Not now, later. Permission given. Walk free. Something in her face tells you she doubts the notion of freedom very much. You clearly sense her fear. Cyprian, if you have Willem with you, but not Cyprian. I think we have Cyprian, so we'll go to 15.3. Just as an aside before I forget, I think our Adendri guide might have some ties with the resistance that we didn't side with, just from the phrasing in the story of hesitantly informed the rangers. Okay, 15.3. You go to move, but the rangers stop you. They say, "Leave weapons here," Guide explains in knock. You were not expecting this. In all human settlements, the Pact ensured Oathsworn the right to bear arms at all times. This is not a human settlement, though, and you were badly outnumbered. You look up at the rangers and the large bioconstructs nearby and decide that giving up your weapons is the only sensible option. After all, you were here to ask the Adendri for their help, so you all prepare to part with your weapons. All except Cyprian. Oh, never mind. So we don't have him. He was the jerk that we outcast. We do have Willem, so let's do that correctly then. So that would have been 15.5 instead. Whoopsies. Suddenly, you hear a booming voice that sounds familiar. Get your hands off me! Where are you taking me? Cyprian is being led toward you by a group of Adendria Rangers. His face brightens as he becomes aware of your presence. Ah, the expedition! And my squire! You finally made it too, he smirks. Willem looks away, a cross between hatred and fear on his face. Guide conveys what she is picking up with spore communications. Rangers find Knight, Deepwood, say belong with us. Our responsibility. Gain Cyprian back. Joy. Then 15.3. Okay, so yeah, we'll reread from where we stopped. So everyone is okay parting with their weapons except Cyprian. I am a knight, he declares. To bear my father's sword is my birthright, and I will not have those mouthless tree huggers take it away from me. You glance at the Adendri, and for once are grateful that they do not understand your language. Nevertheless, they get his meaning and are closing in to get what they asked for. Cyprian's hand grasps the hilt of his sword, anger flaring in his face. If he is about to do something stupid, the whole mission could fail. Well, this guy was a jerk. Let's go ahead and try to threaten him, rather than the reasoning piece. 15.7. Leaning in close, you stare Cyprian in the eyes. If this does not work, there will be blood. And we'll just say that we succeed. Just once again, treating it like a little story time. So back to 15.1 we go. For a brief moment, you see something in Cyprian's face that you were not expecting. Fear. Then he snorts and unbuckles his sword belt. You should see your faces. I wasn't going to fight them. Ha-ha, he laughs, as you hand over your weapons. Okay, we are unarmed and we gain Empower tokens. Turn to 15.10. After the Rangers gauge you have understood the rules, they depart, leaving you alone for the first time since entering the Wychwood. Taking in your surroundings, you discuss which areas you want to explore. Your time is limited, and you can only visit each location once. Around the palace itself are large, grown structures with Adendri moving between them. Many are armed or burdened with strange objects. Away from the ornate majesty of the palace and the surrounding wood is another vast structure, which appears ancient and abandoned. It seems to hold promise, though you are not exactly sure why. Lastly, off to your side, runs a beautiful stream that may lead to something. Okay, so 15.13 we go. Looking around, you decide where to go next. I kind of want to check out the abandoned structure, so let's do that. 17.2. You leave the palatial trees to explore the surrounding area where you come across an ancient grown structure. As you enter, you almost get the impression of wandering through a great shadowy hall with giant round pillars supporting its green roof. Very old trees here, Guide knocks. In size and splendor, this may have once rivaled the holy cathedrals of Cistercia, but now it seems abandoned. Guide looks at it with a feeling of both pride and sadness. Her knock translates to, Long ago, free Adendri build. We were many, had no fear, we had mother, not have matriarch. A boulder catches your attention that is of a different color to the others that you've seen in these woods. You draw nearer to have a look at it, and see its shape is far too smooth to occur naturally. But until now, you have not seen anything made from stone by the Adendri, especially no stones with pictures on them. You wipe away the dirt and the leaves to reveal the whole boulder is covered with them, mural paintings that must be centuries old. You think of Edith and what she might have been able to discern of these. Well, let's go ahead and get the Super Ocho success. 17.6 we go. Can't actually remember who Edith is. You study the murals, pointing out different figures and symbols to each other, trying to understand their meaning. Figures with tree-like heads and bows seem to represent Adendri. But there are also humans depicted. The pictures are telling very different stories. On one, the humans are shown beside a burning tree. As you point toward it, guide tells you, tree killers. On another, humans fight against a Dendry, which guide explains as, a Dendry fight for land. One picture is the most disturbing. It shows a pool of darkness with grasping hands reaching up to consume both human and a Dendry. Guide continues, but it is confusing. Shadows, followed by a series of jagged taps and a finger over her palm. Moving shadows? Sliding? No. Creeping shadows. Gain clue token 3 and turn to 17.4. You leave this ancient part of the Wychwood and retrace your steps toward the palatial trees. Add a time token to the time track. Well, I guess we'll do that. So I think it would have been 2 now. Yeah, we'll just do 1 just in case. Cool. And 17. 15.13. Okay, so we're not going to do the palace. We've done something ancient. Let's go ahead and head for the stream. 18.2. Through a natural opening in the rocks, clear water flows into a pond here, thus feeding the river that leads to the palatial trees. You look into the pond. Its water so clean you can easily see the bottom. This seems like the perfect spot to fill up your water skins. As you take them from your belt, guide requests your attention. Spring water must stay pure to not disturb cycle. Water cycle is essential for all life. Well, we're going to listen to guide for sure and abstain, going to 18.6. You decide it is a good idea to respect their culture sensitivities, their cultural sensitivities, and put away your water skins. Guide kneels down by a group of unremarkable vines that grow from the shore into the water. She touches one of them briefly, whereupon the plant lifts a remarkably large and thick leaf from the bottom of the spring and pushes it far beyond the edge of the bank, above Guide's head. There, the leaf clamshells, and a fine trickle of water rains down on Guide. She washes her hands and face in a ritual manner, then invites you to do the same. Gladly, you wash the dirt and sweat from your journey off your face and hands. With Guide's permission, you also use the plants to take a few sips. All Oathsworn gain animus tokens. And 18.4. While walking upstream along the river, you suddenly see a strange creature standing on the other side. It is no animal, but apparently made of plant material and quite small, maybe only reaching up to your knee, with 4 legs and a tail. You are strongly reminded of the Forgotten King's creature that you slew, but this one seems far more peaceful. Hound, Guide tells you. Find and bring things. Oh, we're definitely going to follow it and try to track it. 18.8. You find a good spot to cross the stream to the other side, but when you go to the place where you saw the hound, it is not there any longer. However, through footprints and broken branches, you can follow its trail. 18.13 we go. It is hard to follow the hound's trail, since clues like excretion and hair you would normally look for are missing. A creature made of plant matter is almost invisible in the forest, but you are experts at tracking in difficult terrain. When you catch up with it again, it is lying in a sunny spot on a warm rock. No, a sunshine puppy. You approach with caution. The hound raises its head and looks at you, its nose twitching as it picks up your strange scent. It moves to get to its feet, but one of its front legs buckles and it sits down on its hind legs again, holding one of its strange wooden paws slightly above the ground. You can see now that the wood on its leg is splintered and broken. Oh, we don't have the Grove Maiden. Are we supposed to be able to have the Grove Maiden? Interesting. I'm just going to take a quick look at something here. Expedition begins. Yes. Well, 18.14 we go. Help the hound. Let's do that. 18.9. You ask Guide to try and calm the hound as she releases some spores towards it so you can come close and examine the broken leg further. The leg closely resembles one of an animal in shape, but without flesh and blood. Just interwoven branches and plants somehow function together in this strange organism. You realize you have no idea how to help this plant-based life form heal. Form a reasoning check. Alrighty, 18.10. But you figure why not try and help it in the way you would help each other. You take some straight branches and rip pieces of cloth to splint the leg. The hound seems a bit frightened and concerned, jerking its leg back a few times, but finally lets you finish the procedure. You hope that somehow the leg can eventually heal now. The hound slowly gets to its feet and takes a few tentative steps to test the leg. Slowly, it begins to wag its tail. As you leave again, it follows you. No, I think we gotta keep the hound. Absolutely. 18.7. You cannot really explain why, but somehow you feel a connection to this strange being. Following an impulse, you reach out and caress its head. A feeling of belonging emanates from the hound, who is wagging its tail so vigorously that you almost expect it to lift off the ground. No, gain ally card 34, bioform. Then we would add event decks. No, we get to name it too. That's really cute. 18.1 we go. You head back to the stream and follow it to the Palladial trees. Add a time token to the time track. And 15.13. Alrighty, back to the palace. Let's do that. So 16.2. You linger by the Palladial trees and observe the different kind of Edendry. Some are magnificent and shining, others are wilted and small. They come in an array of different ages, colors, and sizes, with some truly colossal and powerful specimens. All are strange and fascinating in their own way. A group comes walking up with a particularly fancy-looking Edendry female leading the way. Her long hair-like vines float after her like a cloak, adorned with colorful flowers, which constantly release a flood of spores behind her. Several pale, narrow Edendry hurry to follow her in perfect lockstep, eyes fixed upon their mistress. The other Edendry make way for her and bow in varying degrees of submissive postures. She glances in your direction once, but you can make out no reaction to your presence. After she has walked past, Guide's knock comes like a whisper. Female Edendry nobility, very powerful. Weighing your options, you look around. Down by the giant roots of the trees, there seem to be martial groups gathered around some bioconstructs. Looking up, you see a cluster of Edendry high in the complex structure carrying plants and vessels of soil. Well, let's go to the martial gathering around the bioconstruct. 16.6. Place token 16 on the time track. I guess we shall do so. You advance toward the Palladial tree's giant roots and seem to dive into the earth like fat snakes. Oh, not us. We don't dive into them. The roots do. Up ahead, you notice some grown structures that have a military feel to them, with spikes lurking out under the... Yeah, it's too far away from my face. With spikes lurking out under the shades of green. Before them, a group of Edendry train in full contact combat against hulking bioconstructs of wooden teeth and claws. Guide explains that these are not only used for training, but also utilized in the War of the Roots against the Deepwood. Watching the Edendry train is a professional interest to you, but not important right now, so we do have Cyprian, 16.17. You realize that Cyprian is no longer with your group. Looking around, you spot him as he's just entering a cave formed naturally under the roots of the Palladial trees. What is he doing? He could endanger the mission. You could go after him, but that might draw attention. If he gets caught, it could be over for everyone. Oh, we were told that he is our responsibility, so I think we'll need to confront him. 16.18. You head over to the cave, keeping your head down. Inside, you find several of the clawed bioconstructs seemingly asleep. Cyprian stands before one of them, his back turned to you. Looking for something, you ask, accusation in your voice. Startled, he turns. In his hands, he holds something. A weapon? Then you realize what it is. The construct behind him is missing one of its long claws. Cyprian grins. I want to be prepared in case these wildlings decide not to help us. As he is about to leave, you block his way. His taking something from the Edendry could go very wrong. A lot of people's lives, probably your own included, depend on completing your task. The knight glares at you angrily and waves his newfound weapon. Whose side are you on? In this moment, you are painfully aware that you are unarmed. Stop him, kill him if necessary. Absolutely, we're going to do that. 16.19. You had suspected it would come to this. Regrettable, but necessary. Perform a round of combat. And archive the ally card. Cyprian's final battle is quite unknightly, without formalities of fairness, fighting with a crude Edendria weapon against unarmed allies. His death is not pretty. As you stand there, catching your breath, you become aware of a large bioconstruct advancing from outside the cave, one you've seen earlier. You stand back as the uprooter lifts up Cyprian's body and carries it outside where the soil digger has prepared a hole in the ground into which Cyprian is dispatched and covered with earth. Within moments, the night is gone. As you think it could not get any stranger, a small wooden creature flies over the impromptu grave, sprinkling seeds before the soil digger heaps another layer of soil onto the spot. Then they all hurry away to their next assignment. You get the impression that Cyprian was used more as fertilizer for a flower bed than buried. Also, you are quite aware now that nothing you do in the Wychwood will be without the Edendri's knowledge. Nice. I think we made the right call there. 16.15. As you go to leave, one of the trainee Edendri breaks away from the melee and runs toward you. Guide receives his spores and translates his request. You try your best to keep up with your rapid hand movements. He seems to be offering a challenge for one of you to take on the bioconstruct to avoid its attacks. The Edendri that leads you toward one of the caves under the platial trees to show you human treasures, according to Guide's knock. It turns out to be an impressively large pile consisting mostly of rustling armor plates and weapons. Time have taken its toll on them. Without asking where they got these, you look through the discarded items and find a leather pouch, that holds some iron. Definitely accept his challenge. 16.5. Choose one Oathsworn. Stepping into the combat zone, the hulking form of your opponent rears over you. When its first blow lands, you start to wonder if this was such a good idea. Okay, 16.25, success, baby. Gain 10 iron, turn to 16.8, okay. The Edendri watch in silence as you weave and duck and roll and slide. The giant bioconstruct swings in great arcs, but it cannot touch you. You are no 60-seconder, this is your profession, your life. Hammered steel in the heat of battle. At a silent command, the Hulk desists. The soldier seems annoyed. They'd obviously been expecting a different outcome, but you cannot shake the feeling you gave away your combat techniques to a potential enemy. Okay, location 14 is not on the time track. You may try to find a way into the complex structure. Let's do it. So 16.14, let's do that for show. Place location 14. Well, let's do that then too. 15, 14. Okay, so I think I will be putting these time tracks out for if I do these full story reads in the future because they are clearly necessary. Standing beneath the giant trees, you look up at their perfectly smooth trunks, their lowest branches as high as the tallest building of a room. There are no stairs or ladders, and you have no idea how to get up there. But Guide knows. She walks toward one of the plants that grows at the base of the trees and releases her spores into their funnel-shaped flower heads. Then she knocks, stand still, to you as long vines descend from the palatial trees, wrapping themselves around your knees and upper body to lift you gently but quickly into the air. You fight the urge to hack at the vines and try to free yourselves. A fall from the side could be deadly. Turn to 16.23. The vines set you down on a broad limb of the tree which houses the oddly wrought structure. To either side, an unguarded drop promises a swift end, a fact none of the Edendri going to and fro seem to notice. Curiosity drives you forward, and you explore the strange paths the Edendri take, laden with compost, mulch, and moss. Finally, you reach a platform of densely interwoven branches and vines, on which a variety of small plants grow in wooden bowls. Many bowls, however, only contain soil of different colors. A female Edendri seems to work here, and looks up at your approach, watching you closely while exchanging spores with Guide, who then explains. She struggles to find the right sign for what she wishes to express about the Edendri's role here, and at the end settles on herbalist and archivist. The herbalist leads you to a very large bowl filled with a sick-looking soil. You would know that Icarus mulch anywhere. It is Deepwood soil. Guide recoils. She knocks. Dangerous to bring here. You're surprised to see the crude bowl is made from crusted human armor plates held together by rust. If Marilla is with you, I don't think we have a Marilla. Otherwise, turn to 16.12. She needs more iron for understanding, Guides explains to you with swift hand motions as the Dendry looks over your many weapons and armor pieces. She wants trade, Guide knocks. Whatever they are attempting here, they seem to want your metal for it, and are offering some sort of plant in return. What is this, some sort of plant? For sure, that sounds awesome. The herbalist returns to her work, mixing compounds with soil. It seems this entire structure is given over to this undertaking. You wonder what its purpose is, but after your negotiations, the herbalist seems disinterested. Okay, cool. Seems disinterested in communicating further. So no big lore revelations there. That's still pretty sweet. 16.20. Judging there is no more to be gained here, you leave. With Guides' help, you descend the Platial trees in the same manner you arrived. So we do have location 16. Leave the Platial trees, turning to 16.11. Down by the Platial tree's base, you recognize the Edendry noble you saw earlier standing in your path, surrounded by her pale attendants, her flowery vines dancing in the breeze. Guide stops in her tracks, telling you, no, female nobility, too dangerous. The noble turns towards Guide and releases a single spore. It drifts quickly to rest on Guide, and she goes rigid. After a moment, she relaxes. Guide continues. She help us, has important knowledge about Matriarch. In the meantime, the Edendry noble has drawn nearer, followed by her entourage. As she sends out her spores again, her presence feels like a blessing, an emotion so intense it is almost overwhelming. Well, I am playing solo, so turn to 16.21. Roll an unused hit point die. Ooh, nice. Four to 6. There we go. 16.3. Oh, wow, okay. Your mind is no longer yours. You will do anything this Edendry commands. Her presence now lurks behind your consciousness, forcing you to follow the rest of your group without telling them what you will do. Oh, what? Okay, wild. If you're playing in a group, this section should only be read by the player with the lowest roll. So we just know this because we're playing solo, but wild. So I was curious if that would happen to Guide if it was some sort of mind control thing. It definitely is. Her presence now lurks behind your consciousness, forcing you to follow the rest of your group without telling them what you will do when the moment comes. You will kill the Malaysian Prime Minister! In this case, the Edendry Matriarch, but... okay, cool. So if you're playing solo, turn to 16.1. You may not communicate anything you've just read to the other players. 16.1. Very fun. You need a moment to recover and check if everyone seems alright. What happened? There was a female... No, someone. The memory fades as a few spores are blown into the breeze. You look at Guide in hope of an explanation, but she seems distant and has nothing to say to you. Great. I really like that. That's super cool. 15.13. Looking around, you decide what to do next. We have 4 or more tokens, so 19.2. Place location token 19 on the time track. Rangers approach and escort you towards the largest of the Platial trees. Matriarch will see us now, Guide tells you. Vines come down the tree to grab and pull you upward. You are set down high in the tree's crown on a grown platform, bathed in sunlight reflected by 1,000 white flowers. The Rangers take up positions, flanking an elaborate throne grown from the same white marble wood as the tree itself. To your surprise, you see a human crouching on the floor. The man is in dirty rags, his long grey beard, his body weak and skinny, his eyes bereft of hope or sanity. Puppet, comes a hushed knock from Guide. trembling with fear beside you. A rustling of leaves make you look up as the branch bends to make room. A ray of sunlight breaks through and blinds your eyes. Surrounded by dizzying brightness, the matriarch comes down from above. Supported by vines, she is gently lowered onto her throne. The long vines growing from her head are covered with pitch-black flowers, absorbing the light. They embrace her like a living dress and stretch out over her head and to her feet in all directions like a crown connected with the tree. On her throne, the living branches unfurl their leaves and the white flowers all around move to reflect the light around her. There is no doubt who the matriarch is here. When she is ready, she sets her gaze upon you. One of the vines moves to touch the man on the floor, releasing some spores directly onto his head.
Tree killers, he croaks. Explain why you desecrate our land with your presence.
Now you understand why Guide called him Puppet. His own mind is gone. The matriarch speaks through him. For this question, all players who agree raise their hands at the same time. Do you want to attack the matriarch? If at least one player raised their hand, which we're going to be doing, turn to 19.4. Okay. You charge at the Dendry matriarch with the intent to kill. Her guards step forward as one, rushing to shield their leader from your attack. The matriarch herself does not even flinch. You would have thought her gaze could get. You would not have thought her gaze could get more piercing. Each Oathsworn who agrees to attack performs a round of combat against Defense 8. How does combat work again? This one I kind of want to do roll, just because it's fun. So let's see. I don't think I can actually do it, and that would have been a fail anyways. Let's just say I've got a reroll just for fun. Getting a 2, and then we'll roll another one because of the crit there. So it'd be 2, 4, 6, 8. So that's kind of a janky thing, but we'll call it a success. I'm gonna put those dice back. Okay, well, let's do that. So if at least one player raised their hand, turn to 19.4. And there's only one person, so if all participating Oathsworn succeeded, so that's going to be us, because only one person was in it. Chances of that was super slim. 19.10. The guards had not expected that. An attack maybe, but not an unchained Oathsworn veteran taking out 2 of them in seconds before managing to steal an amber-tipped spear from a third. Pivoting in perfect form, you go to hurl it at the matriarch. Suddenly, spores dance before your eyes, between you and your target. You realize you can no longer move. Turn to 19.11. Enough, the puppet spits out disdain in his voice. That is not why you came. I can feel her spores on you even now. The matriarch glances around the throne as if looking for someone. She will pay for her hubris when I find her. Eyes returning to you. Now, I demand you answer me. Turn to 19.12. Slowly, the matriarch rises from her throne and the whole room seems to hold its breath. Somehow, you know she rarely ever does that. Involuntarily, you take a step back. As her spores whirl around the room, you slowly realize that you cannot control your bodies any longer. She is making you take step after step backwards towards where you know the platform ends. Beyond it is nothing but empty air and a very long way down. The puppet speaks again. Before you open those ever-hungry mouths, remember that you are at my mercy here, tree killers. My people have already suffered enough of your lies. With only your mouth still your own, you begin to tell her of the plague. You get the impression she is looking for something in your words. You know that what you say next may decide your fate. Okay. Tell her that you share a foe, as the plague will get to them too. Turn to 19.8. Tell her that she needs you. That doesn't sound like a good one. Appeal to her for mercy. I think sharing a foe makes the most sense. So 19.8. Let's do it. Oh, your words have no effect. As you take another step, you look over her shoulder and shudder. One more step and you will fall to your deaths. Ruh-roh. Well, mercy it is, because I don't think she thinks we need her. 19.15. Okay, cool. So this is the puppet speaking. I have not had the opportunity to take the lives of so many tree killers for quite some time, the puppet croaks. Slowly, The matriarch raises her hand and with a slight gesture, as if waving a flyaway, makes you fall backward over the edge. You hear the shocked screams of your travel companions as you expect to fall to your death, but the vines are there to support and catch you. They wrap themselves around your body and push you back onto the platform. The matriarch sits back down on her throne and her puppet speaks again. I'll let you live, but you will do something for me in return. Ooh, creepy. Well, that's pretty fun. That's neat. So we don't have clue token 1. But I kind of want to know what the secrets are, so I think we're just going to do that anyways. 19.5. Then you see one of your group is still standing on the edge of the platform, eyes wide with hatred and fear. Oh no, so so we don't get to see this because he's dead. But, yeah, okay, steal from you, intervene, yeah, so, yeah, no, so that would be Cyprian dies and gets his just desserts, just not from our hands. Otherwise, turn to 19.1. Okay. The matriarch returns to her throne, petals unfurling as she approaches. I know of your plague. The smell of it reaches us even here. You are wise to seek our wisdom and foolish to think it would be given. I could deny you, the tree killers would wither in my shade, cut off at the root. She seems amused by the thought, then dismisses it. Nevertheless, you will have your answer, because in doing so you will serve and perhaps die for my purposes. Now, see now what you came to find. Suddenly, images enter your mind. Humans from an age long past, hacking at trees centuries old, making them fall in the blink of an eye. Tree killers. You feel great hatred as your land is consumed. Humans with sharp metal weapons on a vast battlefield. Tree killers. You see great bioforms in Edendry rise up to resist the tree killers. They meet in battle and water feeds the soil. It is not enough though. As both armies are turned to mulch, shadows begin to rise from the ground, dark, hateful things, and beyond them a greater shadow looms over all. You see the Great Father rise to defend the land, but he too is consumed by the shadow. Hope turns to desperation and the shadow advances. As it gets closer, the dark shape comes into focus as the blighted trunks of the Deepwood trees. Ooh, cool. I'm loving like the little lore bits. At last, a final intense picture comes to you. A cave that swallows up all light. It is the heart of darkness, and as you stare into its depths, you feel yourself drawn into its inky blackness, deeper and deeper. After that, the light leaves you, and with it, your consciousness. Add a time token to the time track, like we shall do. Turn to 20.1. Weapons aren't back, that's nice. You wake with a headache. As you look around, you find yourselves on the edge of the Wychwood outside the walls of green. You have no idea how you got here, or how much of what you saw in there was real. It is hard to remember most of it, but the last image has left an indelible mark on your mind. At odds with the nature of the image, as you were sucked into that black abyss just before the end, you felt a strange certainty. You felt hope. You still do not have what you came here for, no cure for the plague, but after your encounter with the Edendry, you are certain answers lie within that cave. You begin to consider how you might find it, when you realize you know exactly where it is. As though a beacon shone through the gloom of the Deepwood, you can sense the direction it is in. Turn to 20.6. It's almost the very last page of this book. Ooh, here we go, and we've got some art too. I'm assuming that that is the cave in question. Cool. Very cool. As you set out once more under the swollen canopy of the Deepwood, you realize how sick this place is. You feel stifled by the thick air and the ever-present smell of rot, a stark contrast to the sweet breeze of the Wychwood. You feel remorse that you may never see it again. Your reverie is broken at the sense of Smill's eyes on you. The apparition, or whatever he is waiting for you, sitting on a dead trunk. He looks at you as though trying to figure something out. On your approach, he gets up, smiles, and walks off in the direction of the cave, fading to nothing. I'm curious if this is just going to be like our little spirit guide's buddy / frenemy for the rest of this game, or it's got a deeper meaning. We'll see. 20.3. You press on for days in the direction of the cave, the Deepwood getting thicker with every furlong. No free company you know has ever delved so deep into the woods before. For hundreds of years, archivists have tried to chart the woods to gain some semblance of understanding its bounds and reach. All expeditions came up short with the same answer. The Deepwood continues on forever. Now you head to a place no one knew existed, the Deepwood Center. Draw a Deepwood event card. If it's event card 5 to 11, place it back in the deck and draw another. Otherwise, resolve it. So, not going to worry about that. As the trees become denser, the light fades away and you feel the unease of the party. Guide in particular seems nervous. When asked about it, she signals. She gave warning. Stay in light. Beware of shadow. Noting the amount of shadows all around, you take stock of your amber torches and lanterns. You could light your path enough to see you to the cave and back again if you were careful. It would bolster morale and perhaps fend off whatever guide is talking about, but light might just as well attract unwanted attention. You could alternatively take it slow in the dark and be on guard for the hidden threat, making sure not to signpost your preference here. I think slowly sneak through the darkness is going to be the way to go, so 20.2. Dropping your pace, you signal everyone to alertness. Holding this level of attention is exhausting and takes discipline, but is necessary to ensure nothing sneaks up on you. Okay, in 20, where are you? (21) 20. It takes time, but eventually you feel you are drawing closer to your goal. Next up, 20.7. You push on through thorns and clamber over thick roots. You can barely breathe the cloying air, and darkness is everywhere. You've never seen the Deepwood like this before. The trees seem to pulse and ooze amber ichor, and cysts dot the land like pustules on a bloated corpse. Before you, the ground abruptly drops away, and the view opens up into a large ravine. Gaping in the mountainside like a dark, festering wound is the cave from your vision, a 50-foot gash cleft into the rock. You instantly know that you've reached your destination, the Deepwood Center. You have arrived at the heart of darkness. Okay, 20.4. Back we go. An overriding sense of vileness washes over you as you look into that darkness, and it is almost enough to make you miss the immediate danger. The place is crawling with Deepwood monstrosities, the likes of which you have never seen before. A sea of fur and fangs, chitin and claws, flow around the cave as if maggots crawling around a cadaver. Fear and anger grip you at the sight of the certain death awaiting you at the mouth of the cave. You will never get in there like this, but you are so close. You know the answers lie within that cave. Did you travel all this way for nothing? You have no time to consider the question as you feel something coming. A familiar deep thumping in the earth draws your attention. You remember that feeling from. You tense, gripping weapons tight at a crashing sound. Off to your right, you feel trees bend, creak, and crack, and the stuff of nightmares claws its way into reality before you. The giant beast, in storm gray armor, it's larger than a townhouse and shrouded in deadly fumes. Uprooting a tree whole, it barrels toward you, the doom of Bastogne. Whatever else you had planned, you are now left with only one choice. You must run for your life. Turn to 21.1. Huzzah! Dire Pangolin back, baby! You run as fast as your legs allow, slashing your way through the Deepwood like madmen. If you die now, all that has happened since you left the room will be for nothing. The knowledge that you've gained, the hope for a cure will be lost. Vines strike your face as thorns cut your clothes, but you only feel the shaking of the ground as the doom of Bastogne thunders behind you. Nightmare creatures scream at you, but you only hear the deafening roar of the trees bursting into splinters as the beast crashes through the Deepwood. I think I'm reading it a little too fast. Memories flash before your inner eye, the broken city wall, streets exploding into dusty ruin, Lord Davenish vanishing into a crimson mist with one stroke of the beast's claws, and the awful cries of the people that have haunted you since. You risk a look over your shoulder. The doom of Bastogne is gaining on you fast, yellowish smoke billowing from its nostrils, leaving a path of destruction in its wake. Behind you, some of your allies are having a hard time keeping up. Survival check. Oh, we have so many allies. Or non-combat. Oh, wow. So, a whole bunch of people could die here. Okay, so let's just try and kind of MacGuffin this quick. Let's roll 2d6 and take the lowest result, and that's how many people we can save if we lose. Okay, so we can save 1. And then let's roll. Let's see. We have so many of these folks for each ally. Let's just do 2, 4, 5, 6. Let's just say that it's 6. And on a 1 to 2, they die, and we can save 1 of them. Okay, so we can save 1. Meaning, if you lost at least 1 ally, if you lost no allies but saved at least 1. Okay, so we did lose at least 1. So 21.9. You were too focused on your own survival to help anyone. Oh, let's see. Is that right? If you lost at least 1 ally. Yeah, okay, so regardless, yeah. You press on, wincing at the scream of deadly terror behind you. At a last look, and you see them engulfed in thick smoke emanating from the beast, the doom of Bastone running over them, stomping on them to death under its giant foot. You know you have to live, so their death is not in vain. You must reach for a room with what you know. Turn to 21:15. This is the very last page of the first adventure book here. That's cool. Blindly, you fling yourself through the trees, heedless of all but the hot breath at your back. Suddenly, you were out in the open, leaving the Deepwood behind you. You've entered a dark and empty field, void of trees, with a cold haze surrounding you as you keep running. You shout out to each other and regroup before the mist can separate you. Then, the doom of Bastone crashes out of the tree line. There is nowhere you can hide from it now. You get ready for what surely will be your final battle. The beast stops, snorting heavily, saliva dripping from its enormous snout. Its front claws paw the ground as its eyes burn with a sick hunger. It snorts again and then sniffs, seemingly less sure of itself. It roars in frustration, pounding the earth at the edge of the clearing. You do not know what to make of what happens next. It turns away from you, and its huge form, blotting out the sinking sun, carves a path back into the Deepwood. Something is very wrong. Looking around, you take in the clearing for the first time. You are standing in a field of corpses. Human and Adendri soldiers are scattered everywhere, half sunken into the ground, dusted in hoarfrost, perfectly preserved. A chill runs up your spine. The Adendri and humans had been fighting each other, 2 armies in a pitched battle. There had never been any battles in the Deepwood. This battlefield must be ancient. So how has nothing decayed? You look at each other, and then begin to make for the far side of the clearing. As you do, you notice the weapons of those ancient warriors are equally well preserved. Fine craftsmanship and keen edges glint in the icy cold. I think 3 was the clue that we had from checking out the old ruined building that had this battlefield in the mural too. So let's take a look at it. 21.3. You know this place. You know it because the Adendri remember it. You've seen it in the Wychwood. You've seen the shadow. Reveal the Encounter Special Rules board. Mark the Special Rules box for Chapter 11 on your free company sheet. The sun is rapidly sinking. You see the shadows getting longer. Darkness is coming. Spend some time looting the corpses. Quickly grab a few pieces and move on. After what we just saw, I don't think we're going to spend much time here. So let's do a grab a few quick pieces and move on. 21.4. You do not want to stay in this place any longer than is necessary, but if you can bolster your arms this easily, you will. As you grab a few pieces, Guy just stands there, her watchful eyes fixed on the shadows. Without shifting her gaze, she warned me, leave now. Reveal all cards from the Chapter 11 common item deck. Gain 4 items from it. Cool, perform a spot check. Well, let's just say that we succeed. 21.7. As you make your way across the battlefield, looting what we can, you notice something strange. The shadows cast by the dead are lengthening before your eyes. The last few rays of sunlight are receding from the area, but these shadows are pressing in too fast and seem to be reaching out like hands. Hurriedly, you call for everyone to gather together in a patch of light between the mounds of the dead and prepare torches. Guide is at the back, running for the light when you can see what looks like the shadow of a man crawl along the earth. It reaches out to her, and immediately she stops. Her body goes limp for a moment, and then, as though a puppet on strings, her head rolls and her body begins to jerk. Around you, you see the shadows start to crawl across the space, heading straight for you. You strike your torches, and the shadows recoil from where the light lands. This does not deter Guide, though, who steps into the light, her eyes black pits as cold as the grave. Arms raised, she charges to attack you. She strikes with a force that belies her size. You ward off the attack, though the blow nearly breaks your arm. Defend yourself and shout for her to stop. I like guides. We're going to do that. 21.12. This is not her. This is not her. No one is this strong. You shout at her to stop, but she comes forward again, seemingly gaining strength at every moment. She strikes at you. This time, one of your companions takes the blow in your stead. Someone loses a hit point. You do not think you will survive much more of this. While you wrestle with her, there is a brief moment of cognition as she seems to wrestle with herself too. She makes strange clicking sounds. Suddenly, you realize it is the knock. She is signaling you 2 words over and over. Kill me. Kill me. Left with no choice, you run her through. Oh, dang. 21.8. Ooh, I just got a little shiver. If you have the Willem ally card, which we do, 21.14, let's do it. Back to that very last page. No! Willem's shriek of grief pierces the night. You did not realize how close they were until now. As Guide's body goes limp, he rushes forward and catches her in his arms to lay her down gently. She risked her life for you and you killed her! He throws a punch at you, angry tears in his eyes. 21.1 or 21.5. You see the rest of the creeping shadows, a cloak of darkness crawling across the ground, pressing into the edge of the light. You brace yourself and raise the last of your torches. Then a hand with unnaturally long fingers reaches out from Guide's shadow and grabs you. Open Mystery Envelope 11. Proceed to Chapter 11 Encounter. In the Encounter book, you have been ambushed. Uh-oh! And Mystery Envelope 11. Ooh, little shadow tokens. Shadowy figures. Double-sided, which is nice. Oopsies. So you can get you back in there. So this one, I think, is like a special encounter that doesn't have any minis, if I remember correctly. And then here we go. We'll take a quick look at the encounter stuff. So encounter board, no hit points at all. Interesting. The Shadow Man. Come in from Shadowland. So defensive 9, Shadow Man's Puppet. If no one is possessed, give this card to the Oathsworn with the highest health and resolve this card. If someone is already possessed, do not give this card to anyone. Instead, resolve this card and then discard it. There will only be one possessed character at a time. Possessed, you lose the Oathsworn keyword and gain the enemy keyword. Everyone wants to be my enemy. Arcane is fantastic. Don't mind that horrible little sing-song. Your enemies are now the other Oathsworn. You can only lose hit points by damage from an attack. You cannot be hurt in any other way, such as knockback, bleed, etc. Perform the refresh phrase as though you were Oathsworn. Do not act in the Oathsworn phase. Do not use defense cards or interrupt when attacked. Use the Shadow Man's defense instead of your own. If you stop being possessed, you may immediately act normal. The possessed attacks move 7 to your targets, so you can fight and stuff. Then there's also creeping shadow minions. Cool. This is one thing with this game, is it does really, really fun, cool little twisty mechanics for each encounter that I love. So this is basically, there's minions, and one of the Oathsworn is actually like possessed, which is just a really cool touch. I like that. And then we'll take a look at the unique items for this encounter as well. Oh, interesting. I don't think there is any for this chapter. Let's see. Looks like no unique ones for this chapter. And no minis to showcase either, so let's just move onwards to... Well, I'm going to record them back to back here, so I'm going to do another one. But this video will be posted at a different time. So yes, thank you for joining me on this longer format rather than summary story of Strictly Story Oathsworn into the Deepwood. And we'll pop back in for Chapter 12 next time. Take care, much love, and we'll see you then. Bye.